Well, welcome everyone to another episode of the Fieldhouse. I'm Blake Munroe, where I'm joined weekly by Gerry Hamilton, Coach Tim Buchanan, and Carl Padilla of the Padilla Poll. Shipley on vacation, guys, so he won't be joining us this week. Of course, he'll be back next week, but let's jump right into it. High school playoffs are here. Carl, what do you have for us?
Well, going off of last week, I got the 3 Coach Buck defensive games of the week. Westfield beat Eisenhower 9-6. Burleson Centennial, one of Coach Buck's favorite teams, beat Joshua 7-3. And Highlands, with a third quarter safety with 1:19 left in the game, beat Brackenridge 11-9. And I believe everything else was a field goal in that game.
Wow.
The Coach Shipley offensive games of the week: Cedar Park 60, Georgetown 52. That won them a district coach championship, and they're actually the 1 seed over Georgetown. Sanger 91, Farmersville 56. So how would you like, Gerry, to have 550 yards of offense and lose by 35?
Wow.
And then Grapeland took the 2 seed in their district by beating Lovelady 77-69.
Wow.
So I just like everybody to know, there's more games than we can possibly run on here, but I added a new category this year in honor of somebody. Tomball Memorial 46, Klein Oak 42. So that denied Klein Oak getting into the playoffs, and Tomball Memorial season's over. But the most impressive one I found all week, and I'm calling these the Colt Monroe All Heart games.
Oh, thank you, Carl.
Colorado City 42, Sonora 12. Sonora finishes 7-3 on the year. Colorado City 1-9. So you talk about all heart. Usually by then, those teams have just checked it in, and they're waiting for off season and something else to do if you're a senior, but not those guys. They came out involved.
Carl, I'm not putting you on the spot. You won't know it, but so Sanger has scored 80 and 91 the last 2 weeks.
Right.
171 total. Has somebody beat that in that classification ever in the 2 game? I mean, and then they scored 73 against Van Alstyne 3 weeks ago. I mean, It's like, it's crazy. Beat Bonham, scored 63 against Bonham. It's like, but 2 weeks, back-to-back games, 171 points. Maybe Alito did that once. I don't know. But
several times, according to Coach Buck. We talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's 171 points in 2 games, man. Pretty crazy numbers.
I'm saying Sanger's not running the wing tee anymore.
No, they're not.
No, they aren't. And good thing for Chad, Chance Rogers, his son, is calling the offense. So
right,
younger usually means a newer thoughts or newer offense, harder to stop. 15-2A Division II, the average score was 56.7-4. Wow. 2 of those were shutouts. I surmise that the bottom of 6A will be close to 22-15. If that's right, that's a drop of 60 from 2 years ago. So in keeping with the great 0-9 game between Killeen and Bryan, Killeen won 34-20. My games and scrimmages sheet has grown to 246 teams needing 181 scrimmages in 544 games for a total of 725. This week, there's 338 playoff games, and I have 6 of them under half a point difference.
Wow.
49 between 1 and 5, and 51 between 6 and 10. So it's probably going to be a low percentage correct week. The other fun stuff is shutouts were 68 last week. Nobody scored 80, but Sanger did score 90.
Wow.
And 5 teams scored 70. 16 won by 50. Excuse me. Looking at the 2A numbers. 61 by 50. 88 were 1-score games, and 21 were 100-point games, and 22 were 70-point games. Excuse me. So that's pretty much what I've got on that, and then we can go to the next part, Blake.
So we're having basketball games and football all season. Basketball scores. That's where we're at.
Yes, sir. And actually, scoring's down. But back in 2018 and 2019, I went to 7 games in a row where I saw a game over 100 points.
Wow.
So that's
one thing we're going to hit on later in the show, because we got to hit on it at some point, is kind of some of the final snapshots. Like, did the enrollment actually go down? What any new things from last week when our show aired on the snapshot? We'll end the show with that, guys, just because I do think that's we need to go over some of that.
Well, Carl, I asked you to put a list together of 10 playoff games that you thought everyone should be keeping an eye on, and I actually turned it into a pretty graphic for everyone out there. But you picked a couple of 6A, a couple of 5A, a couple of 4A, 3 and 2A. And let's start here with the 6A, Carl. I'm going to let you introduce these, and then we can discuss them.
Well, do the 6A games kind of together. Austin Bowie and Hutto. I've got Austin Bowie favored. Westlake and Vandegrift. I've got Westlake favored. I know Vandy's had an average year for them, or maybe a below average year for them. They're still looking at possibly 4 years ago, and Westlake put a 70-7 beating on them. So we'll see where these go. Both of them score in the 30 to 40 point per game range, but usually Westlake and Vandy have great defenses, and we'll see where that takes them in that game. Hutto, obviously, with a brand new coach in Eli Reinhardt. Jeff Abels is one of the coaches I know that makes a lot with very little. So if you've ever seen an Austin Bowie defense, every time I watch them, it looks like a 4A team out there playing. They're so tiny.
All right, and then Gerry, any thoughts? Anything stand out to you about those two?
Yeah, that Laporte. Well, we're gonna the 6A games. Like Westlake has, this is not the normal Vandegrift team, obviously, but Westlake is come playoff time. One thing I'll say is that's going to be a good gate for that. Whoever this hosts that one, that's going to be a good gate. They're going to make a lot of money on that one. Sales will be up and tickets will be sold for that game. But I like Westlake to win that and make a little run, which we're going to get to with my game of the week later. I think a little bit of an interesting game is going to take place in week 3 in the playoffs for a team that has not been eligible in a while, and I think they'll end up playing Westlake in the 3rd round.
And then let's take a look at 5A. Carl, you picked out Laporte and Weiss, and then Brenham and Fort Bend Marshall.
So Laporte gets to have a playoff game at home, which is great because I still think they have the best field in all of Texas.
Agreed.
That's going to be a white knuckler. So we'll see if that goes as close as I think.
And then Coach Buck, I'm going to kick it over to you for Class 5A. Any thoughts on those or in general?
Well, yeah, I think Laporte's a really good football team and wouldn't be surprised to see them in the championship game.
Then let's go down to 4A, guys. I wish Shipley was here for this one. Andrews versus Burnett and Sanger versus Ford. What do you got on these two, Carl?
Well, I got to throw in an honorable mention. So it's the Reed Brothers War Part 2 down in Cal Allen, between Cal Allen and El Campo. So that's a 1-point game, just as the Andrews Burnett game is. Too bad, Coach Shipley's not here to talk about his Bulldogs, and that should be a little war, a little West Texas war. You get to Sanger and Ford, and it may be a 4.5-hour game with the way they play offense.
Yeah, I was gonna say Quinlan Ford they put up 63 on North Lamar. They've put up high 40. 49 Brownsboro, pretty decent. 49, 49, 63, 42, 49. 49's their number this year. 57 against Kemp. Now they lost to Sunnyvale 58-21. So it's going to be interesting to see how many points Sanger scores. But that is a game that we'll bet on being one of those, Carl, that ends up over 100 combined, right? I mean, or get close to it.
Oh yeah, I would bet that easy.
And then we'll look at Class 3A here: Commerce and Jefferson, and Childress and Littlefield. Any thoughts on those fellas?
Commerce and Jefferson could be an interesting dynamic. They've both had great games and down games where you're like, what happened? And but that should be a close game either way, and hopefully they're both at 100%. Childress and Littlefield, you just never know about a team that I guess you could call them mid-majors. They're not at the top of the food chain, but they're also not anywhere close to the bottom. They both have great programs, and we can find out, I guess, on Friday, if I remember right, just who wins that game and gets to play the Wall Hawks the next week, if I'm correct.
Yeah, the thing on Commerce that's interesting about them for me is it's a young team. Like their quarterback, Aiden Brown Jr., is having a really big season. He's thrown for 1,700, rushed for over 1,300. He's a junior. Their running back is a junior that has 835 yards. Their top receiver, junior. So they're second top, was number 2 in yards, but tied for in catches. But offensively, Commerce they're a young football team. They're going to be one that returns a year from now, assuming all those kids come back. Some of their leading tackle on their team is a junior as well. So number of those kids on defense are juniors as well. So I mean, you look at Commerce, and you're going to be looking at them back-to-back years in the playoffs, assuming all those kids come back. But really, they've done a lot with a young football team there this year, which has been impressive.
Thing about both of those games is, a lot of tradition in those towns of having good football programs. Yeah, I know Childress and Littlefield used to be, you had them at the state track meet every year. A lot of speed, and then Childress just a hard-nosed football town.
And then let's go down to 2A, kind of getting in my neck of the woods here, Carl. San Saba and Rosebud Lot, along with Ira and Seagraves.
Well, San Saba and Rosebud Lot, that again, there's another one of those games that it's a 1-point game, according to my computer, which means that Rosebud Lot, that's favored to lose, has an 85% chance of winning, because that's just the way it works on my system for some reason. The winner gets refugio, so
good luck.
Good luck. And then the other game is Iran and Seagraves, and again, we're just seeing hopefully one of these advances and can play for a couple of rounds. But they do have Hale Center next week, the winner. At least that's what I think. And they're a pretty good team this year. So we'll see if Iran can get it going and beat Seagraves in this one.
And I was just looking here. I didn't realize San Saba, they played some pretty good football teams this year. Hamilton, Junction. So hats off to them. I didn't realize they were doing as well as they have.
Rosebud Lot has really good sophomore running back to know about from a recruiting perspective. Zaylon Wells, 5'11", about 195 pounds, having a strong season as a sophomore. He had 580 yards as a freshman. He's over 1,000. I think he's around 1,500 all-purpose yards. Hasn't played every fourth quarter this year. But Zaylon Wells, from a recruiting standpoint, is a guy to kind of follow in the future at Rosebud Lot. Has a look of a future D1 kid.
Well, fellas, there was a clip that went viral. And, Gerry, I know you specifically wanted to bring this up. But this happened, I believe, what was it, earlier in the week with the coin flip. And this was all over the internet, all over social media. And I'm going to put it up here on the video screen. We can talk about it while it's happening. But, Carl, I know you said that you've been involved with a couple of these. Gerry, I know you had some questions for Coach Buck regarding the coin flip. So I'm going to let you take it away, Gerry.
Yeah, so I got to start with Coach Buck. Carl's done some of these, but, Coach, I mean, any coin flip stories out there? I mean, how close to home is this actually, or was this a made-for-TV event?
It hasn't happened like that in a while, I don't think. But back in 1975 in Killeen, you had Killeen, Temple, and Bryan. Curtis Dickey was at Killeen, at Bryan, and Darrell Ray was at Killeen, and Temple beat Bryan, Bryan beat Killeen, and then Killeen beat Temple. So it was a 3-way tie. And so back then only one team went. So it was odd man in. And, of course, they had all kinds of rules. The coin had to hit the ceiling. before it could hit the ground. And the first flip, it comes up all tails, and then the next flip, Colleen wins the toss with the odd man in. Now, I've got a funny one. It was over where we were going to play, but in 2004, Reginald Samples is at Lincoln.
Yeah.
And Alito and Lincoln are going to play in the semis, and he wants to play on Saturday, and I want to play on Friday. So we flip, and I win the flip, but Reggie calls no flip because the coin hit his foot. Coach Wood was in there with me, and it might have been the funniest. He said there going, no, it hit my foot. It hit my foot. And so we flipped again, and then I lost the dang flip and lost the football game. So I should have arm wrestled him or something for that foot flip. But as far as today with all of the points and all that stuff, I'm not sure I wouldn't just soon see the coin flip come back.
I agree. Carl, you officiated over coin flips, right? Is officiated over coin flips the right term here?
You could say that. I mean, the deepest I've been, like a referee would say, in the playoffs is the semifinals.
Yeah.
So, I did one earlier this year in Corpus Christi, and I actually gave the Padilla Pole coin to the referee, and then he gave me a coin from the Corpus Christi Tasso chapter. So all those things are always fun, and coin flips are crazy. But I was in one. Coach Zamora at Harlingen was a very good friend of mine, and so Harlingen was going to play Churchill, and I went to Churchill. So he and Coach Comelander are on the phone. I'm in Coach Zamora's office, and Coach Zamora flips the coin, and Gerry calls it, and Coach called it wrong. So Harlingen wound up being the home team. And that was the first time. So Coach Zamora, actually the back end of that, he gives me a parking pass and a sideline pass. So I call it Coach Comelander. I'd never gotten a sideline pass for Churchill before. And I said, well, Coach Zamora gave me a parking pass and a sideline pass. And he goes, well, you have a sideline pass for Churchill this time. So, and ever since then, it's been, sideline passes at Churchill for the last 28 years.
As a grad, it should be.
Well, let's take a look at some games that we are keeping an eye on this week, as we always do. Gerry, I'm going to start with you.
You know what? I thought long and hard about this one, and I went to San Marcos versus Eagle Pass. And the reason I went there is San Marcos has been ineligible due to a UIL ruling. And to keep that, Coach John Walsh, Coach Walsh won multiple state titles at Denton Guyer, as we all know. But to keep that program together, to keep those kids from transferring out when they could have gone other places, the quarterback Stein, right? The linebacker, the wide receiver on that team. Those kids are D1 level football players. And the fact that they stuck it out there at San Marcos, I'm not sure they had a real option, but they had to play JV football. They had to take 0-10 seasons. And that was a rough go for Coach Walsh. They're 0-11, obviously in 24-25 or 0-10. And then in the year prior to that, they were 0-10. So when all your best players are playing JV football, the fact that they worked past that, Carl, and Coach Buck, and they're in the playoffs, and I think they're going to win round one. I think they can win round two and probably meet up with Westlake in round three. The fact that everybody stuck it out there and kind of stayed together is kind of do you agree with the ruling or not? But to get past that is kind of cool to see in a day and age where most kids would hit the road.
Well, number one, John's a good football coach and has a really good a good staff. And San Marcos has not traditionally been a powerhouse football program, and he's gone in there and, like as you said, kept the kids together. I'm not going to say if I agreed or disagreed with the ruling, but I know John. I talked to John several times after that, and he's always been extremely positive. Never said, "Well, I'm getting out of here, I'm leaving," or anything like that. He's been determined to stay there and turn the program around and make it a winning program, and he's doing it.
There's no doubt. Supposedly Judson brought most of the charges against San Marcos to get them ineligible for 3 years and not be able to play varsity or for honors. But in the Judson game this year, which was at Judson, San Marcos was up by 10 in the last minute, had the ball inside the 5, and John took 2 knees to end the game and go on back home. So that shows a little class on his part, and the fact that I believe there was no hijinks in that game says a lot about how the two coaches, Mark Soto and John Walsh, can do when it's game time.
And you know what? And we're not sitting here, cheering for winners and losers. These kids have to go play the games. But for the kids that stuck it out there, if they get a little playoff run, I think that'd be pretty cool for them. Because that was a very tough situation to play JV football for a couple of years when you're a Division I level recruit, and it did hurt their recruitment.
Yeah.
Hey, Blake, one thing I wanted to bring up, maybe Gerry can comment on it. There's a kid out of Ozona, the running back, Christian Villarreal, 222 carries this year for 3,505 yards, a 15.8 yard average, and he's got 52 touchdowns this year.
Wow.
That is unbelievable numbers that he's put up for sure. And I don't know where that one for the 10 games ranks in that classification. He's a bigger kid too. He's a 6'2", 200-pound kid. So we're not talking about a kid playing smaller school football that's, not a big, good-looking athlete. He certainly is that. He's over 5,000 career rushing yards. And, he's put up some monster games this season, as you'd expect with those numbers. But he's having a great year. 6'2", 195, 200 in that area code. 400-yard game, multiple 400-yard games, 3 of them, in fact. And, he went 371, 373. He's gone 450, 348, 296, 410, 380, 411. And they've needed it. In a 46-40 game, he went for 411 and 5 touchdowns. So, yeah, some of those have been blowout games, but he hasn't played a lot in some of those blowout games either. So his stats are really, really impressive. He's also put up 281 receiving yards. So he's closing in on 4,000 all-purpose yards this year. And so that's actually he's probably over that now in terms of returns. So unbelievable season, over 4,000 all-purpose yards, entering the playoffs, 400 yards a pop.
Gerry, if I remember right, if he averages the 350 per game he's done so far, if he can last 2 more games in the playoffs, he'll break Ken Hall's single-season rushing record.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's also worth noting that his head coach, Demarion Miller, Gerry, that's now at Alabama.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Jason Pitts.
Yeah, it was the OC there. Okay.
Yeah. But yes, he's very, very talented. All right, Coach Buck, who you keeping eyes on this weekend?
Well, I think the Lovejoy Argyle game will be a good game. I think Argyle's going to win it, but two really good football coaches who know how to get kids to play, especially in the playoffs.
And Carl?
I'm going to go with a game tomorrow night that I'm actually going to go watch, Ingram Moore and Hondo. Basically no history there, but Ingram Moore hasn't been in the playoffs very much in the last 30 years. Hopefully their kids show up and are not satisfied with the season they've had so far, which has been really good. Hopefully they can get after Hondo. And if you know Hondo, you know their history. And they have a lot of long playoff runs, just not many recently. But two communities that really need a football playoff win so they can keep playing.
Yeah. And by the way, one of the things about Ingram Moore is they had one of the all-time leading basketball scorers in the state of Texas, Troy House, one of the all-time record holders. So just a little interesting nugget on Ingram Moore there. I watched that guy play hoops. I think he averaged well over 40 points a game. So good to see Ingram Moore getting in the playoffs in football. That was way back in the day, by the way. Way back. They have had a high school legend come out of there.
I think I'm gonna go watch Peaster and Sweetwater on Friday.
Right.
So Sweetwater.
You're supposed to do a Culligan's read after that.
That's right. But Sweetwater hasn't had the best season, but they got a lot of talent. And I think they're going to give Peaster a run for their money come Friday night. So we'll see what happens.
Hopefully it's not one of those 3-hour trips each way for you, Blake.
Oh, gosh. No, I'm done with those, Carl. They better not send us out west this upcoming year. That's all I got to say. I'm 1,200 round-trip miles in 4 weeks for district games.
By the way, I got to mention a Texas alum, Chris Whaley's son, CJ Whaley, one of the top young players in the state of Texas. They're in the playoffs at Atlanta. He's having a big year. Texas has offered him. For the Texas fans that follow the show, I think they're playing Winsboro in the first round, but they've played a tough schedule. But CJ Whaley going to be one of the top prospects in the state, and probably top 100 kid in the country if he keeps on keeping on. But 6'4", about 200 pounds, also a star in basketball court, plays at the top of the square. So Chris Whaley's son he's up and coming. He's got a lot of offers already. And if you're up in that area and want to go watch him in the playoffs, you can do that Friday.
Yeah. Well, let's close, as Gerry alluded to earlier, Carl. We're well past snapshot day. Anything that folks need to be aware of on that now that you've had time to digest the numbers?
6A is going to be very interesting. It looks like they're going to go from a bottom of 2275 2 years ago to possibly somewhere around 2215. So the largest schools have dropped a lot in enrollment. It's kind of interesting. The 5A D1 D2 line should drop half because enrollments are lower at the top end, and half because we're not going to have 18 schools opt up this biennial realignment. After that, it gets pretty dicey in that the enrollment breaks will go up until you get to the 3A D1 D2 break, and then the enrollments go back down. So it'll go down for that. It'll go down for the 3A D2, 2A D1 break, and then the one between the 2As. So it's kind of interesting this year where the largest schools have less enrollment, the smallest schools have less enrollment, but the schools in the middle all have more enrollment. So it's a different thing. I don't think we've ever had more than 2 divisions go down in a cycle. This time it could be as many as 5.
Wow.
Has 6A ever dropped, Carl?
I don't believe they've ever. If they have, it's only been like by 5, or it's been even, but never a drop like this.
Interesting. Well, Carl, I got to tell you, on Tuesday night, I was at a high school volleyball playoff game, and everybody in the stands, Carl Padilla says, Carl Padilla, your name, I heard your name probably 500 times on Tuesday night about your projections on 3A and if this school was going to be moving up, and I heard your name a lot. So I don't know.
Well, let's put some pressure on Carl. Who's going to win the volleyball state championship? So since you were being brought up in a volleyball game, do we need a new poll, Carl?
I think the only one I know that probably is going to win state isn't it Byron Nelson? They're undefeated.
Yes, they are 41-0.
Yeah, they
And down your area, Stockdale will probably repeat because they have the number 1 beach volleyball player in America who's committed to Texas. She's a 27, and she will put the ball through your dome at that level, small school level. They will probably repeat, is my guess.
That'd be good for that community, and hopefully they win that advertisement. I can't remember who's doing it. It's a shoe company or somebody where somebody's going to get $1 million makeover. And I think they made the last 10 or 12 in the nation.
Oh, wow.
To win that. So
interesting. Yeah, that girl's name's Leanne Wise. For the volleyball fan out there on this show, she has a chance to be potentially an Olympian in beach volleyball one day. She's that talented.
Wow.
We'll see what happens. You got to stay healthy and you got to keep developing, but she's extremely talented.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Fieldhouse. Of course, we'll be back same time. Well, no, not. I guess we will do it same time, same place. We'll have to go Thursdays from here on out for a little bit anyway. So for Coach Buck, Carl Padilla, and Gerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Munroe, and we'll see you then.